annual week. And it's a pleasure to be here. And as you introduced today, there will be industry and university research in this session. I was at the university so far in a previous life. Today, I'm representing a small enterprise that is located in Italy, that is named MEO, Meteorological and Environmental Earth Observation. It seems we are quite far from planetary science, but I'll try to convince you that we are not so far. First of all, because the planet Earth is one of the planets of the solar system. So let's see if at the end we will converge on this. As an industry, we have, let's say, we are still a teenager, no? Because we founded the company in 2004, but we have quite a consolidated experience in playing with big data. We are an added value partner of the European Space Agency since 2005. It took us 1 year to enter this business. But till that time, I think we were focused on solving big data challenges and let's say, following how technologies are evolving to better support the exploitation of the data. About myself, you see, in previous life, I was a physicist working on cloud. After 15 years experience, I'm still working on cloud, but a different kind of cloud. So now we are talking about cloud services and not microphysics properties of clouds and rain. I'm quite excited to be here and smiling, also because on Monday I got my one-shot vaccine. So sooner or later we will start traveling again, and maybe the next annual EPEC conference, it will be in a face-to-face mode. Again, I'm excited. Why? Because you see, when we achieve a milestone, there is, sorry. Can you see also the audio of this video? See, okay, I tried
not the audio.
No, we don't have any audio.
Okay, okay. So I remove it because it's noisy to me to talk. But you see how enthusiastic we are when we achieve a milestone. In this case, I think we are all aware of what happened on February 18, because Perseverance landed on Mars. A lot of excitation for, let's say, a few minutes, really nervous about what is happening there. But if we look at the real path of the rover, it has started 7 months earlier. So just flying on Mars, it was a long trip for that instrument. And you know, on my case, let's say, I'm excited today because what I try to present to you is the achievement that today we can share with open science people providing Adam service, the Adam platform. What is Adam about? Let's say, is a web environment, but it's not only a web environment that provides two-dimensional, three-dimensional virtual globe. It manages different projections because of the variety of data. It has the ability to manage the elevation service because it is important to properly place data over the surface, and according to the digital elevation model is important to do that. But last but not least, let's say, this platform is a cross-planetary service that in the framework of a Horizon project, we are extending to planetary science data support. And in particular, in this period, we are focused on enabling the cloud-ready services for Mars. What about these data exploration tools, and what is important to share after a while is that there is no single data to manage. Data are heterogeneous, both in spatial domain, and we have to manage from low resolution to very high resolution data, as depicted in these images. And why we do that? Because of different users, different applications, different phenomena have to be observed by different sensors, and having a unique platform make possible to support multi-temporal and multi-domain analysis. And again, because of users and the use cases are different, we cannot expect that a single interface will be the proper interface to support all the users. This is why it is really important to support what we call humans with human-friendly exploration services, as it is a web application that in the Adam case is named Explorer. What you can do there is to enjoy fast visualization of the data, but in case you need to exploit the data, and exploit, I mean, even apply an easy algorithm on top of the data, you see that there is a need of a different tool, of a different platform. And this is what in this era is supported by Jupyter. So providing the user, again, a web human interface that also support the live coding and move the software close to the data. Again, is this the only one solution to support the scientific exploitation of the data? No, there are other categories of user, and this is why API are so important, because for programmatic and machine-to-machine discovery, access, processing of the data, API are the state of the art for today to support data, geospatial data exploitation. So it was a long trip. It took 7 months to land on Mars for Perseverance, but you know, to address needs and requirements from different communities, design and implement different services, reusing existing technologies. Let's say for Adam, it was quite a long path. It started in 2010 because of a technological project in ESA, and you see this roadmap stops in 2018 because it only refers to ESA activity, and from the preliminary design and implementation, we have been asked, and we also recognized the value of using standard interfaces instead of custom API. We support different thematic application just to prove the validity of the concept. And at the end, after 8 years, we released the first version of the platform. In this period, we came across to other funded activities, again, to improve the technical validity of the technology, to support and move from, let's say, gigabyte of data till to petabyte of data, to move from private infrastructure to cloud infrastructure. We also supported thematic application. because working on technical requirements, it drives the implementation of technical tools, but putting in place an operation a thematic application has different needs. And you see a series of projects helped us in extending and validating the technology in atmospheric domain, climate domain, as well as in other, let's say, technology-driven activities to enable what we call today data cube access services on top of existing data, avoiding the data replication. I wouldn't annoy you with, let's say, the full story. I try to summarize with these 4 bullets what has been addressed in these 8 years of design and, let's say, agile development. Volume of the data was a challenge so far. Today, because of clouds, because of evolving technologies, is not anymore a challenge. Let's say variety of the data is still a challenge because there is no unique data format or data specification. Each community has its own specification. But what for sure we have realized is that the veracity and the quality of the data, okay, this is up to the data owners, is up to the scientists to, let's say, work on the quality of the data, is not up to a platform to solve and approve the quality issues related to the data. Several domains have been addressed and supported by the application. Just to let's say present the most relevant one because of numbers of projects supported. Let's say in the atmospheric domain, what we do that is also supported in other application, you see, is map mosaicing, for example, is computing monthly average maps that is in common also to most of the other application domains. And how Adam supports this use case or this need. It's important to support what we call the conventional approach. So to give the users the possibility to implement traditional approaches to the data. You see, I try to represent how a map mosaicing is done using traditional approach. Single images exist, and if I need to create a daily mosaic using these granules of data, what I need is to get access to the single resources, and this will have a need of large or small local storage, but for sure the access to the single granularity, as well as computational resources to apply and perform the needed processing on top of the data. And this will have some, let's say, resource, time resource impact. What Adam and the backend services can do is to compute this map mosaicing on the fly. What does it mean this for the user? No need to access the single granules. That means no need of large local storage on your site. You can ask directly to the service the mosaic, and you save space and time on your site. And you see, we also look beyond, because what is important from an operational point of view is keeping track of what are the most used data by the users. And as in this case, what the users need is a level, what we call a level 3 product. The possibility to compute a priori, store and expose, enable access to this data directly on top of level 3 products will be even more, let's say, cheaper in terms of, and faster in terms of times. If you don't see the case for the planetary science data, okay, maybe it's only because we are looking here at a pollutants map, but what about looking for a crater on Mars? I think the point is always the same. If there are one-shot acquisitions and I need to mosaic the data to get the proper view and knowledge about and analysis of the data, it's just a matter of exposing and enabling these services on a different source of data. Why we do this? Because we have been asked first, and because the reason is for all of that user that have a need to subset the data because they are focused on a local application, okay, saving time and storage resources will boost the analysis, will boost the progress of the science. You see in this example, I just put in terms of data transfer rate, what is the factor, the gaining factor of accessing data directly over the area of interest you are focused on. Let's imagine in Ferrara, I need the full-time series of these thematic products. If I do not have this pixel-based access capability, I cannot save 10 power to 6 data transfer. If I have that possibility, I will save this kind of storage and time of processing the data. So moving to the planetary science data, you see we are quite comfortable in our comfort zone, saying looking at what Adam does on Earth, looking at the long experience on designing and implementing and supporting users on Earth, we can extend the technology to play with the planetary science data. This process has been already started. You see, challenges are still the 4 bullets. For us and for Adam, is more about playing with the variety of data, because there is a new language and vocabulary to get familiar with, because what is a temporal axis on Earth is quite different on Mars. What is a data format on Earth is quite different on Mars. But all the rest is only about extending the technology and adapting the vocabulary. And the main goal is to engage the PSD community to shape what we call the PSD cloud-ready services. This process has started in Neania's project, is an Horizon project. You see, there is already the Explorer Martian-friendly interface available that is exposing the traditional services on top of the data. But the plan is to move to the version 2 of these services. So to enable the pixel-based access service on top of a long list of planetary science data that maybe later other colleagues will comment on. Neanias is a 3 years project. We are in the middle, and in a couple of weeks we will have the MTR meeting with the Commission that hopefully it will be the green light to release the version 1 of the service. But you see, there is still a long path to the end of the project. We have to focus on loading additional PSD resources and enabling what I was presenting before on top of atmospheric data, mosaicing and more processing capabilities. And let's say I stop here. So just to say that the path is still in progress, and I'm really happy to have started working on planetary science data with Adam.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Simone.
If you have questions for Simone, please keep them for the open discussion, so that now we can move on with the schedule and go to the next talk with Ramiro. Ramiro is working actually with Simone, and he will tell us something about his experience moving from academia, because he was a PhD student with me actually, and now he's working. So he made this choice that we are all considering, I think. So it will be interesting to see his point of view.
Okay, so thank you, Erica. Let me start sharing my screen. There you go. You should be able to see my screen now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Remove this thing here. Okay. So as Erica, so first of all, Erica and all the people from EPEC, thank you for inviting me, because this is it's super interesting to talk to people that is now finishing their PhD. Like spoiler alert, I never finished my PhD, and I know Erica is sad about that because we were supposed to submit our thesis together, but I'm happy that she is submitting the thesis. So what I'm talking about is my personal journey from academia to industry. It may fit your history, it may not. And this is just for you to see a point of view that it's oftenly not shown to people that it's working on academia, right? Let me start with a little bit of a blast from the past. So I was born in Barcelona in 1986. I am this guy with the glasses, not the other guy. I did my bachelor's in geomatics at the Polytechnical University of Catalonia. After that, I moved to Berlin, where I did my master's in geodesy and geoinformation. And while I was working at the university as a research assistant, I was approached by ESTEC because they were doing some landing site characterization for the lunar lander rover that never saw the light, actually. So I moved to ESTEC for a few months to do my master's thesis. And I will say that there is where the academia bug actually bite me, and all the academia fun begin. So my time in academia was, I would say, started at ESTEC. I graduated from in Berlin in 2013 or 14, I don't remember. And then I wanted to do a PhD, because this is what you do when you're in academia, right? So I moved to Manchester because basically my wife moved there. So I moved with her together, and I started working in a pub serving beers. I had a lot of fun, and I was applying for different PhDs, and then I got a call from Bremen, from Angelo Pio Rossi, from Dr. Angelo Pio Rossi, to start working with him in a very, very interesting project called Earth Server project. I will briefly talk about that later. So I decided to start my PhD at Jacobs University in 2015, May 2015. So I did a lot of research and development during my PhD for 3 years. I learned a lot, and not only the scientific and technical stuff, but a lot of analytical and soft skills, which, again, spoiler alert, are very important when you transition from academia to industry. So I worked together with Simone and some other people in a project called Earth Server, where there was a small planetary endpoint. We wanted to show that basically what Simone was talking about, right? That the data access through WebGIS and data analysis through cloud-based services for planetary science data. So we created this endpoint called Planet Server, which I think it's still alive, and you can go and play around with it. There are some Crescent data and some MCube data in there. But then in January 2018, I decided to move back to my hometown, to Barcelona. And there is where this journey of transitioning from academia to industry started. Quickly, I started working at the Cartographic and Geologic Institute of Catalonia in January 2018. And I lasted there for 6 months, more or less, not even 7 months. Then in June or so, I started talking to Simone, because I have to say that before I left to Barcelona, Simone wanted me to go to Ferrara with him. And we agreed on working together. I don't work in, I'm not working for MEO. I work for Sistema, which is the Austrian branch of MEO. But anyways, I work remotely based in Barcelona. So I started in 2018, like not even 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago. In this company, I'm basically working on a lot of different projects. Some of them were mentioned by Simone, but I'm not only working with atmospherical data. I work a lot with satellite, like pure Earth observation data. I do a lot of software development, basically. But mainly, I work for a huge variety of different clients and on the Earth observation domain, basically. My daily job is processing terabytes of data, satellite and model data, creating tailored solutions and data for the different projects and clients that we have, developing software solutions, managing some work packages of projects, and so on and so forth. So let's say that it's a huge changing work. So one day I can be working with atmospherical data from ECMWF, and another day I'm working doing some mosaics of Sentinel-2 data, and another day I'm deploying a virtual machine to create a Jupyter Hub machine for a project. And one day I'm fixing bugs, which is also a huge part of my day-to-day life. So at this point, as I said before, I decided to put semi-officially my PhD on hold, maybe forever, maybe not. I promised Erika that it will not be forever.
Never give up, Ramiro.
That's the point. So that's why there's a question mark in there. So I put my PhD on hold. I am now meat for industry at the moment. So, of course, when you decide to move to industry, it's for a reason, and my reason was mainly stability. I didn't say that, but my journey started in 2009 or 2010 in Hungary, where I did my Erasmus. Then I moved back to Barcelona. Then moved to Berlin, Amsterdam, back to Berlin, then back to Manchester, then back to Bremen, then here, there, right? And I was a bit, at that point, I was a bit tired of this grasshopper, let's say, academia lifestyle, right? That we all know that, this is what happens, right? I simply got tired from academia, no filters in here. So I got really tired from academia. I think we all at some point get tired of from academia. Some people just overcome that, some others don't. I think I'm one of those that were like quoting lost on the way. I was kind of tired of these submissions, reviews, then publications, then rejections, more submissions, then having luckily maybe one fully funded project that will provide you funding for maybe 1, 2, 3 more years if you're lucky. Uh, I also already decided that I don't want to go down to the postdoc rabbit hole. Um, I have a lot of friends doing postdocs, and I didn't see myself in their position, right? So it was not for me. Mainly, I think the sentence that summarized my experience with academia at that point was that I really idealized the academia lifestyle. So it took me quite a few years to see that at least it was not working for me. It doesn't mean that it's not working for you, but for me it was not working. Of course, there are some things that you lose on the way when you transition from academia to industry, and those are things that you really need to be aware of if you think of following this path. So the main thing I lost was that I had to change the topic that I was working on, basically. So I consider myself still a planetary scientist, now working with mainly data analysis and data engineering, but there is simply no space or very little space for planetary research, as Simone in the private sector, as Simone was mentioning before. So we are now starting to create within the private sector topics on planetary research, right? Like Neania's project. But this is just the beginning. So it's really, really, really hard to fully work on planetary science in the private sector, especially on the data analysis and data engineering part. Also, another thing that I learned the hard way is that the industry tempos are completely different to what academia is. And academia, let's say that you have to manage your time, which is good and bad at the same time, right? I mean, you need to be a good manager, otherwise you're lost. But in industry, it's different. In industry, uh, you don't put your tempos. You basically you have a tighter tempos that you need to follow. You need to fulfill, otherwise you're done. Another thing is also the workload. This is something that I also learned the hard way. I was working in one topic on academia. I was doing research for one very specific topic, which was landing site characterization and water ice characterization on Mars and the Moon mainly. Um, in industry, it's completely different. As I said before, I'm working on 5, 6, 7 projects at the same time. Um, one day you're working in a project in atmospherical processing of data, and the other day it's a pure Earth observation. So this is something that you also need to be aware of, and you need to consider when you are thinking about transitioning from academia to industry, at least if you keep working on the same, let's say, domain. And another thing is the freedom of working on what you want, simply and straight. When you're, at least when I was doing the PhD, I decided to work on what really was my main topic, which was this landing site characterization. I always loved working on landing-side characterization. There is simply no space for that again in the private sector, or there is like super small projects for that. So in the industry, you need to be aware of that the client or the project that you're working on decides on what you work actually. But as Simone said, never say never. I never left academia. Actually, I was lying to you all the time. Because in 2009, I started working as associate professor. We have this position in Spain called associate professor, which is mainly people that not necessarily has finished a PhD. They can teach at the university the elective courses of last years of bachelor's and master's programs. So because, you know, I mean, I said before that at some point I was bit by the academia bug. I guess this bug bites you and it never leaves. So I decided to invest, I can say, part of my time in back to academia. So I'm teaching GIS and remote sensing and geoinformatics, which is something that I really, really, really like, and it's my grounds actually. So I'm back to the roots. So yeah, I'm still here. So I never left academia 100%, and I really enjoy teaching. When I was doing my PhD, I was also a teacher assistant for a few courses, and yeah, this is something that I always love to do. So let's wrap it up a little bit. Do I regret moving to industry? It may have sounded like yes, but I don't regret moving to industry, if I am fully honest with you. Was it a smooth ride? Definitely not. It was not a smooth ride. Um, but I think it's worth. So is this what you should do? I don't know. You are the only one who should decide on that. So this is not a story that fits everyone profiles. I will completely understand if you don't want to leave academia for whatever reason. But you know, I mean, this is only you will decide on that. Do I encourage you to do that? Definitely not. Again, just find your way, put things in a balance, see where this balance is going, and on a scale, sorry, and see where this is balancing, and then decide. But I cannot tell you what to do. But, and this is something that I want to put on the table, because again, I think this is something that it's kind of a taboo in the especially in the PhD community, and you only realize of that in your last years of PhD, is that a high percentage of PhD and postdoc students and that are my friends that I met on the way and are now working on industry. So I will just say that this is just food for thought. This is the reality. It's really hard to do your career. So it's not an easy path doing your career on academia. It's also not easy to transition from academia to industry, but there are a lot of people who is doing this. So I think this is my last slide. I am, I think, on time.
May I add a point, Ramiro?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
You have to add, if you encounter Simone at the airport, please skip it.
Yeah, please. So there's a reason for this sentence. I was basically lurked into working with Simone at a long layover in Amsterdam airport with a couple of beers, I think, where he kind of convinced me to work with him. I don't regret this layover. I don't regret the beers, and I don't regret working with him. So yeah.
I partially convinced at the end, because
yeah,
you are working on the Sistema side, but
exactly.
we are all happy about that.
Exactly. So yeah, that's my history. I think Erika called me to do this small talk just to share a different perspective and a different point of view. And I hope that I didn't convince you and you stay in academia.
Thank you, Ramiro. Thank you very much. I hope you will submit your PhD thesis at some point.
At some point.
Yeah, Safura said, I enjoy your honest talk. Thanks, Ramiro. So that's for you to know.
That's I really like
that was
this.
a success.
I really like this feedback. I have no filter, you know that. So
yeah, I know. That's why I invited you. So stay tuned for the open discussion at 30. Now we move on with the next speaker, Carlos Brandt. Well, I really don't know how to introduce Carlos. He is a colleague of mine, and he's very good in what he does. And yeah, he's been thinking about these differences between academia and industry. So it's just a discussion. It's not like he's specialized in, studying the difference between these two words. It's just personal considerations and experience, and he will share all of it with us. Are you there, Carlos? I think we lost him. Oh no, he's here.
You're muted, Carlos. Oh, no, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, story of my life. I am always I always forget the goddamn mute. So you should see my screen now.
Yeah, it's not presentation mode though.
Right. Okay, so yeah, as Erica introduced, I have been mostly in academia. So I am currently a postdoc. We'll go through that in a minute. And but I have flipped and switched between academia, like in between degrees, with industry. Fortunately or not, I have been always in contact with research development, which is something that I really like. And then, as we will go through here, at the curiosity aspect and knowledge seeking of my profile is something that still puts me in academia. So just a very, so that you know the bias of my talk, and then you can judge at the end and discuss however you please. So I'm a physicist myself. After physics, I did, at the university data center, we were providing service at the high performance computing facility, where we would provide services, computing service, so maintaining the facility, a couple of clusters, to either the university labs, simulations, and we would sell CPU cycles, so CPU computer power to the industry as well. And our biggest client from the industry side was our oil state company. I'm Brazilian, by the way, so Petrobras is this oil state company. And then after that, I went back to masters. I had the opportunity to go to this very good institute in Brazil for scientific computing. And then after that, state money funding fled away because of political reasons. And I saw the opportunity a friend of mine invited me to go to this software development company, where I was lucky enough to my profile, that we were doing basically research and development, and we were developing a software for geophysics. So our software was used for was meant to be used by geologists and oil and gas engineers in search for oil and gas. And lucky, why? Because our team was really strong, educationally speaking. Let's say everybody there had at least a master's degree. My boss was doing a PhD in geophysics, very smart guy, one of those software engineers that just do perfect software. And I really learned a lot with him and my colleagues. We had an international environment where there was a guy that did his PhD in France, in INRIA, was a French guy actually. So that was a very nice high-level environment, I have to say. Why I'm telling that again, so that you know the bias. Although in my presentation, I structured so that to avoid as much as possible the bias. And then I had this opportunity to do a PhD in Italy, which I certainly took, to also to work at the Italian Space Agency. My supervisor was the director there. So that was, I have to say that I wasn't sure if I wanted to have a PhD. I was sure about master. Master was something that I always wanted to have. PhD was something that I had never in the past fantasized very much, but the opportunity was super cool and I took it. I definitely don't regret. And we did a lot of computing, data analysis, and some remote cloud computing back then. And I had the chance to, and this is one of the reasons why I'm here. Although in academia, I like very much cutting edge technology, computing technology. So although in the last years, I fell a bit behind because of reasons that I will discuss later. I have to say that I follow industry more than science. I follow technology more than science. So this is one of the reasons, as Erika said, why I discussed that. My friends and colleagues from the academia in Brazil, mostly, they are all in industry these days. I'll go back to that in a second. And then after the PhD, because of funding reasons, I finished my funding before the PhD thesis. Surprise, surprise, never happened. So I just, I became a freelancer. Thankfully, I had software skills to back me up. That is something that surely helped me. So I just smoothly slide to freelancing. And to be honest, that was a very nice experience for the short-term deliverables that you have to do. Also, you are not doing research, you are delivering software. So on one side, you are doing daily stuff. On the other side, you have things done, finished, and I would work 10 hours a week, roughly, and get the same amount that I had as a PhD scholarship. So that's pretty cool, to be honest. And then I came to Bremen to a postdoc position, invited by Angelo Rossi, and to basically do a lot of computing. So this is, I put back at the end of the slide, this background, like I'm a software engineer inside academia. And I firmly believe in industry academia. Join forces This may be trivial to you here in Europe, but in Brazil is definitely something to happen. Our industry and academia don't talk very much. And regarding the friends that I actually, like we have had this discussion many times, and I asked for their opinion on the bullet points in this presentation, just to see if I was being fair enough. These guys that I referred to, two of them are working in big tech industries, the social network, infamous one, the search engine, all of them doing software engineering. The guy working at the social network, now this is cool about industry, and I will get there in one of the bullets. You don't need titles to progress in the industry. This guy is a guy without a bachelor. This is a self-taught guy, very competent, very focused guy. We worked back in the masters, we worked together because we were also working with, for a telescope, commissioning a telescope. I, as a master's student, and he was working in one of the institutes as the cloud engineer. And this guy is nowadays working in Dublin very well, getting the fair share of money that he deserved without a bachelor. The other guy from the search engine has PhD. He went all the way to a PhD. He had his PhD in France, in Riyadh, and went to the search engine big tech. Pretty happy also. And then I have two other fellows. One, when I was doing my master, he was doing postdoc, is in Brazil, and he's working for a data science startup there for 3 years now, and is happy because one of the key aspects that he prays for, and he has the chance to have there at that startup, is freedom, intellectual freedom. So, but this is a guy that got into that industry with a good knowledge of statistics and machine learning. So he got in there modeling, let's say. And the other guy in UK just gave up of PhD, also Brazilian, all of them Brazilians, gave up of PhD because he fed up at some point, and went as product manager for a oil company. Right, so this is the bias of this presentation. I myself is academically biased, and but I get some inputs from either personally, but also from these people that have had some background in academia and in different levels moved to industry. All right, so I list here again. I tried to make this presentation, although so far, obviously, I have to give my bias. I told about this myself. I tried for the next slides to not talk to myself and bring some neutral, hopefully, information about differences between industry and academy. And one of, at least the key aspects. And one of the aspects is intellectual freedom. So in academia, you have a great deal of freedom to guide your research, right? Another aspect, another parenthesis that I want to do here is I'm trying to bring, not to only bring information about a tenure track, so a senior academic, which I am not, so I cannot talk about that, but bring also the information about the early scientists and postdocs and PhDs and yeah, the beginning of the career. So some things like stability, which I will talk about in a second, you don't actually have stability till you get your staff position or your professorship track. But anyhow, and also I don't want to talk about that. So the senior position in academy, as I want you also to understand that industry is not only the big techs and research that happens there, right? Industry is everything happening out there, the academia. So you also, when you consider, you also have to understand that what is probable to happen and what is at the tip of the mountain, right? So keep that in mind, like, and we'll get there in a second. And here, for example, you have a great deal of freedom. You have a lot of freedom to choose your research when you get enough stability or your own funding. But until then, you work obviously to somebody, to some researcher, but nevertheless, you have a great freedom to propose solutions and come with methodology to solve a problem inside your research or the research environment you're in. In the industry, you are bound to a business goal or a product, a specific product to achieve in a given timeline. So there is not much bumping around and knowledge seeking space in the industry. Again, for the good and for the bad, right? I'm just bringing the main aspects for each topic. Flexibility is something that you have a lot. Academia is famous for that. So you have a lot of flexibility in your work hours, in your vacations. And this is typically good. I think it's good. Some people like a more structured agenda, 9 to 5, 5 times a week, and that's it. Weekend is mine, and follow a more predefined track. So those are big differences between. Again,
sorry, Carlos.
Yes.
Just to warn you that we're a bit late. So
okay, I'm generalizing here, not talking about super cool startups that have super flexible work hours. No, I'm talking about the majority. Then the workplace mindset. You have in academia, you have this discovery focused, or the seek for knowledge and learning itself. As long as you publish, this is a thing in academia, whereas in the industry, we will go for a focus target to deliver a product in a given timeline, right? So you are bounded again for business goals and timelines and a fixed point in the horizon. Again, good or bad, it's up to you. Collaboration in academia is free, mostly free. If you don't have a toxic boss, you are free to collaborate with whoever you want. For example, in my PhD, thankfully not me, but people under the supervision of our supervisor, the director of the institute, was in a really bad shape. That guy was toxic. Happens also in industry. So just bear in mind that here comes a parenthesis, get to know your supervisor before you engage in a PhD, or because it's like 3 years, 4 years of your life. So get to know that. Otherwise, you may be screwed. And I saw that happen in PhD. Not my case, but I saw that happening. In industry, you are bound to your team or your co-workers to collaborate with. Like it or not, you have to work with them. Roles in academia can get really nasty because you have to wear a lot of hats. Especially, I learned that in the postdoc. Till PhD, easy peasy, smooth, cool. You had a lot of pressure, but it's your supervisor, a couple of side works. But as you progress and go to postdoc, and I see my boss, you get your life quite messy. You have a lot of freedom. You have a lot of cool things happening, teaching, fundraising, research, blah, 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 but you have to wear a lot of different hats. In industry, you will have that better sorted out, right? You have clear responsibility. Management in academia, like human resource management is basically inexistent or very weak, and that may get messy. Right? You don't have a manager or people learn by themselves to manage students, and that gets quite messy sometimes. Regarding individual impact, when you are, that's a big thing. In academia, you work basically for yourself or for your research and promote your name, and you do a lot of individual work to do some very specific products of your research, so to say. But the impact in society may be delayed or very weak because you don't have the media, and you don't have typically a huge public. In industry, this is different. You go for a product that has to have impact, and you see that impact either in society or inside your organization clearly in a short timeline, right? And the career advancements in industry is, as far as I understand, is as you have more opportunities in industry to go up the ladder and access opportunities than in academia. You do have a lot, once you get into tenure or staff, you do have a lot of stability, which you don't in the industry. But in the industry, you have more opportunities. So it's either go deep or go wide. Again, you decide. Resources in industry are plenty. Academia, they are quite short, depending on where you are. So we do technology and infrastructure, and we struggle mainly with human resources. And that sometimes is very disappointing. Depends very much if you're inside a lab doing some microscopic stuff, or if you try to do some at scale. And salary, no secrets here, industry will pay you better. Generally speaking, okay? Here, just summarizing the strong points in academia: freedom. If you like teaching, that's the place, although you have a huge teaching industry out there that you can actually engage in and make some money. Academia is still the place to do that, and flexibility. On the other hand, in industry, you have a short-term impact. You have teamwork, if that's important to you, if you like to work with people and have the workload shared, that is a better place to do that. Compensation, so salary, and a work-life balance. In, again, after you go beyond your PhD, your life, at least I see that over and over again. Most of the people get entangled in a nasty weekend-long uh, um, work in academia. You are working for yourself and with greater flexibility and freedom, but you sleep with that stuff. Sometimes it's cool. If you really like your job, it's pretty cool. Sometimes it gets boring. Then how to decide, just lay down your priorities, think on the future, because you will grow old, and sometimes, and when you need money, if you want to make a family and stuff like that, maybe money is important to you, but maybe you want to have time to raise your children, and then a old style, typical industry environment may not be the place to you. I know of people that enjoy that very much in academia. What moves you on, what is your motivation and the kind of impact, and if you like to, how do you want your work being done on a daily basis? If you need your time structured, or if you are self-managed, if you want to report continuously, if not, sometimes some people need that to be productive and that makes them happy. Sometimes need freedom to make them happy. So again, at the end of the day, I just put here, if in doubt, go industry. And that's, again, I'm in academia. Every now and then I think about that. I don't know, after my postdoc, I'm actually thinking about and making some contacts inside academia and industry to figure that out myself. But I'm in doubt here is just statistical, really. Most of my colleagues went to industry and they are pretty satisfied. Those that remain in academia most of them are satisfied too. Sometimes, since I do with technology, that gets bored, and most of my contacts are also doing some computing. Sometimes it's painful, but again, this in doubt go to industries is actually statistical. Most of the people that I know went there and they are okay. They are fine, happy. So that's my advice to you. And here go some links, articles or blogs or some personal and non-personal articles out there in the industry. That's it, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carlos. We can talk with Carlos during the open discussion. So now I promised you 10 minutes for coffee. So please be here at 10:50 sharp so that Antonella can start her talk. And that way we should have just 10 minutes delay. So have a nice coffee and I'll see you in 10 minutes. Of course, if you want to have the coffee together, remember that the link to Wonder is still valid. Yeah, no, I just pasted again in the chat. So yeah, I'll see you on Wonder.
Hey, Ramiro. You are muted.
Now. Simona?
Just because recording is in progress.
Okay.
Okay,
let's do,
are you
let's do
staying?
something.
Are you staying with the camera open to demonstrate that you are working 5 to 6 projects?
No, you know what? I wanted to show, I mean, I saw this message on Wonder, like on the chat about this Wonder thing, and I don't know what it is. And so I clicked, and it's kind of a discussion panel, blah, 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 but it's like a Zoom, I don't know. And I thought the camera was showing there, not in Zoom. No, I'm actually working now.
No, I imagine.
I'm trying to download some Copernicus water, Olchi derived turbidity, but apparently they removed it from the archive, like directly. It's completely removed, and I'm trying to contact. It's the guys from Vito.
No. Are you sure they are completely removed?
Yeah.
From the SciHub?
Not from the SciHub. I'm doing Copernicus.
Land.
Yeah, Copernicus Land, which were managed by Vito. This you know, these guys from Belgium.
Yeah, I know.
And they have, so now they only have FTP download, but I don't want to download all the products. I mean, I just want to download subsets. And they have this
Copernicus Land, and all the European Environmental Agency datasets are moving to Wikio. Okay, so to Wikio.
Ah, okay.
Okay, because we are in.
But are moving or are?
So I do not remember exactly the plan because we are implementing the HRVPP adapter to play with snow cover and other seasonal data. But I think there is an overall plan to move several data on Wikio. But if they remove from the existing services, I don't know. I think it's an issue, or it has to be documented.
It's removed already. It's removed because I was just like scrapping all the archives and everything. There's not, so I will contact the help desk because we need it for.
Did you check the news if they have a news session on the website?
Yeah, but I saw it, but there is nothing like. They say like from the 12th of May, lake water quality rerun for April 21. But even if they rerun it, the problem is that when I use the legacy download tool, which is where they lead you in case you want a subset, like geographical subset, it's not working because I think it's stuck. So it says I have two messages. One, it's like a red dot saying like, this product doesn't exist anymore. But when you ask for processing, it starts processing. But I started the processing at 6 in the morning this morning, and it's 198 kilobytes. It's nothing. It's still processing. So probably it's lost somewhere. I don't know.
Which endpoint are you using? Just to know.
I tell you in a second. Land.copernicus.vgt vgt.vito.be. This is the HTTP access, and then they have this FTP. Again, the FTP, it's working, but each product, it's 4 gigabytes of data. I don't want to download. I have to download 2012 to 2020 or something like that, but just over Bulgaria.
Okay.
I just want a small subset. And I only want 2 bands. I want the water turbidity and the mean value and the standard deviation. So it's only 2 bands of the net CDF, right? I don't need 4 gigs of data. It's just like.
Can you share the endpoint just to be sure to use the proper one?
I shared with you on Skype.
Yeah. I'll check with Maurice because
I share with you the HTTP access where
yes.
where it doesn't exist anymore. Wait.
And also the ID of the dataset to see if we see this in the new service because if it is available in the new service.
Okay, this is the data pool. Where are you, Simone? Here.
I'm here. I'm here.
I see you. I see you. Wait. So this is one, and then this is the FTP. It's so the ID is LWQ 300. Wait, let me share with you. No, this one here. So you have in the last that I sent you is LWQ 300 and LWQ 100. So we need the Sentinel-3 and the MSE.
Sorry to interrupt your
Sorry, Erica.
meeting.
We're just using this time to discuss about work.
Okay. So if Antonella is ready, we can move to the next topic.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Hi, good morning.
See me and hear me. Hi.
Yeah,
and I don't know why when I joined Zoom, automatically use a photo of my son for Christmas letter. So no, I just saw something familiar in the
It's
icon.
okay, it's cute. It's cute. Okay, so following up with our discussion about industry versus academia, we have now the talk by Antonella. She works in OHB in Germany, and yeah, she's. I think you're in charge of women in aerospace, aren't you, Antonella?
Yes, I am the local group leader in Bremen. So the Women in Aerospace Europe, the group leader in Bremen. So there are several one over Europe. So
you're the Bremen leader.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will just leave the space to her. You already shared the screen, so that's great. And we can start. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Erica. Thank you all. I'm really glad that I've been invited for this opportunity. I hope that I can share with you my path and my point of view working with inside an industry. I select as a title, We Are the Choice We Made, but maybe would be better to say, and the choice that we will do, that at the moment we even don't know that we will take one day. I organized the presentation mainly to present what was my career path, what have been the choice as impact on my life up to now, what is my daily life activity at OHB in this case, and working in international environment. I prepared also a couple of slides for Women in Aerospace Europe because I think it will be a good opportunity to increase the visibility and also join a wide network over Europe of a different field in aeronautic and aerospace. And also a look of the recruitment process, for example, at OHB, not only in terms of employee, but also for students, internship, and opportunity. That was a nice picture, let me say, despite today, after 1 year COVID, I try to be still an optimistic person. So this is how I like to present myself, a little bit, not that I am an aerospace engineer, because this is what I do for work, it's also linked to my passion, but I am mainly a human being with, I guess, all of us dream, ambitions, and need to feel satisfied by personal and professional life. I are now, since 2011, we moved to Bremen as a family. Now the family also increased with the dog. And I feel strongly European. In particular, I come from Italy. In particular, I come from Naples. But the main view is that there is a common culture that I share with all the people that I meet along my path, independent where I live. This is my path up to now. I got a master's degree in 2001 at Federico II di Napoli in aerospace engineering. At that time, it was aeronautical engineering with a major in space in 2001. And I had never the pleasure to work in my town. So just after the master degree, I moved to Turin in north of Italy to work in a consultant company that were mainly in charge of fluidodynamic analysis for the automotive sector. This could be was the first opportunity to start to explore the industry side, because coming from a university with a dissertation in research, I had also the opportunity to apply to a postdoc, so for a PhD, but was my personal choice in this case to try the industry instead of remain at university. The choice at that time was mainly that I would like to, at least for what were at that time my perspective, to be more on the application, really on the product line. And I would see what were the challenging in working with schedule to deliver the parts on time, and at the same time also to figure out what should be a career path inside an industry. So this is totally in line with what Carlos said before. In the doubt, in that case, I went to industry. So I started in Torino, but it was not really my application field. My wish was always to work for space, go on with the space research, because the space activity, this difference between industry and academia are not so well defined, because in general, industry for space as a customer is scientist. In general are physician, biologist, medical doctor, that they have an idea to perform an experiment in space, and the industry has mainly the objective to develop the hardware to make their research feasible in space. So you need to set up a common language, a common culture, in order to understand these two words. For example, mainly for biology to engineering, a lot of scientific aspects need to be standardized in the way that you understand them. And after a while, directly in that year, I had the opportunity to join Thales Alenia Space. At that time, it was called the Lab in Milano. And they had this first pioneer experiment that was called the mice drawer system, that the main topic was from a medical doctor to figure out the impact of some additive to fight against osteoporosis. And that was done on mice as a model. So we had to prepare this hardware to allow 6 mice to fly to ISS. Was one of the last shuttle used for upload and download of the mice. And that I figured out, you feel something inside you. At least this was happened to me. That is what I would like to join for most I can of my life, this type of development, because each experiment is a sort of a prototype. So I'm not going in serial production. We made the mice, and after 2 years, we made an experiment on radiation monitoring, and then you can do an experiment on worms or frogs. So each experiment has its own requirement and its own purpose, and it seems that you start a new job at the end every time. After 10 years in Thales Alenia, the situation was a little bit different, because the market was more oriented to the satellite application. in particular telecommunication satellite. And this was not something that was my dream why I decided to go on with this activity. And in OHB system, I got the opportunity that they were looking for an experienced project manager, a system engineer for payload that need to be performed on board of ISS in microgravity conditions. So we decided in 2011 to leave Milano and Italy and move to Bremen. So up to now are now about 10 years that I am also at OHB, and we work in a very international environment, as we can see later on, because OHB in particular is hiring a lot of engineers coming from different parts of Europe, and this allows you to change completely your daily work from when I was at Thales, because you use, first of all, English as your normal daily language, and you also need to face German. That was something that I was not know one word when we decided to move. That is also another point. Don't be scared if you need to move in a country you don't know the native language. You can adapt, and at the end, at least on our side, in this type of application, the English is the mandatory one, and all the rest can be learned on site. So not feel a change of a country like a limitation, but more an opportunity to give you also a possibility to grow without that you figure out that you are growing. You will more notice when you look behind your shoulder, you say, are now already 10 years that I am in Germany, and I speak not so fluent, but people can understand me without that I attend any special course. So this was this has been some soft skill maybe that you recognize sometimes when you are doing. Why I got this passion for the human space flight? Because the human space flight not only are, I think, what make our curiosity and our interest behind our planet, how will be the universe around of us, but also not only to look from the photo, but really see that there are astronauts, and we hope in the future also normal people with this commercial flight that can really feel and live this type of experience. And the main topic is that you can develop a technology that help you to enable your sustainable presence in space, but with the great benefit in our daily life. A lot of technology, if we think about the MRT, if we think about even the drill or the water recycling, come from space research. So if we look around ourselves, or we surf also on NASA website, they made this beautiful web page where you have a house and you can click on some elements and you figure out how these elements that we use every day, they are coming from space research or need for space research, like it was for the beginning with Apollo. No? Also the MLI thermal blanket that unlocked in these days, we are looking for emergency for the people rescue come from space application. This is mainly the environment that I like to work, and this environment, and this was the choice that I made like a part of my professional career. I would work for this type of application. Then we start to move over Europe, and so maybe in future we will move again to try to follow this wish. And this is a little bit the roadmap that continuously inspires all of us to figure out how we can think on which technology you have to fill up as a gap to allow this flight, this endeavor from Earth to Moon and later on also on Mars. A lot of people to Mars. A lot of people think about colonization. I don't like this type of concept. We are explorer, like all observer in science. Here we have an academia also audience. You want to be less invasive as you can on the subject of your research. You want to observe it, you want to understand it. So the main topic for me is more than talk about colony, habitation, permanent base, is more to understand the origin of our life, origin of the universe, understand more the mechanism around, and help to figure out the technology in harsh environment that we can use even on Earth in remote area. So even if we work in our community all on the same roadmap, also there you can have a different way to approach, because like all the discipline and the field, you have a map, but each will extrapolate according to their own personality. And this is up to now my daily place, let me say, is Columbus. That is the European module of the International Space Station. The International Space Station, as you can see, is one of the most international places where different cultures work together with one common scope and purpose. In particular, as a European, we perform experiment in Columbus, that is our pressurized environment, where work not only European astronauts, but also the other from other nationality. But there we have an easy access to our facility. So it's a unique opportunity to have a permanent laboratory at 450 kilometers over our head. And then you can imagine, it's like you have a lab research, so it can be something also for academia. There are a lot of universities that work for ISS, that they apply to the ESA call, that they win the ESA call, and they combine their research in the academy with this aim of application for space. So in a lot of proposal, in a lot of project, in our consortium, we have always university. So industry and university found a common place, because sometimes you need, most of the time, some experts in some technology, because not all of us can be Leonardo da Vinci, that you are expert of all. So you need the expert of the topic, and the industry and the university with the long research and a lot of experience in a dedicated field become always a strong partner in industrial consortium. So for space industry, in particular in research for space industry, so not for satellite maybe, but in this type of application, industry and university or institution are always together. Which type of research? For example, to give an idea, we have research in the frame of human physiology. So instrument like scanning or other type for not invasive measurement of blood pressure are performed on board. These help scientists that are medical doctor in this case to figure out the effect on the human body when you are in a different condition, in particular in this case for microgravity, where you change the complete movement of the fluids inside your body. Moreover, the astronaut need the training, because otherwise you have a muscle bone loss due to the long permanence in microgravity. So we had also area from fitness that has to figure out, according to the results, how to adapt the standard machine. In this case, we have a treadmill, no? And the astronaut need to do exercise on board. And due to you are in microgravity, you are floating around. So you have to find a way to allow a good contact, in this case, between the feet and the treadmill. And so you have to organize and readapt your design. In this case, it was with the belt to try to keep you in a postural position that allow to make all the muscle involved in the movement working. But nevertheless, we test also other type of experiment, like growing in a hydroponic way vegetables, lettuce. This is for this long-term presence in space where maybe you cannot bring everything from Earth because it takes a long time. But this type of application are widely used now also in a country where you can set up, when you have less resources, less water, and not invasive way, a way to produce on site some primary foods. So mainly the daily work is based on a team. We are a team of 10 people, and we have it's called a system requirement document or experiment requirement document that the professor, the scientist in this case, describe the type of experiment that you want to perform in space. And then we start to our engineering design process. So means we will brainstorm possible multiple solution to the problem. We go in trade-off to select the promising one. In general, we create the prototype, are called the early breadboard, the prototype solution that we test the most criticality part of the experiment itself. And then we go in a sort of iterative process until we don't give the hardware to the scientists, so to the university. They test by their own, we give a manual, and they come to us with the feedback about here we need to change this aspect, or you have to change this material, or we can use as is. So this process is quite made in a closed loop with all the entity together. Of course, most of the projects are with the European Space Agency. So the European Space Agency acts like a coordinator between the university or scientists as a customer and the industry consortium. And the main goal is later on to deliver the hardware that needed to be ready to execute it on board. Before to be executed on board of ISS, we make a sort of a dry run simulation on Earth of the complete mission, not in terms of duration, but with all the steps to be sure that we don't face any problem later on when we are there. And here you can see some of the activity. We do thermal vacuum test on the hardware if it needed to be exposed outside, vibration. We have a special packaging condition to be shipped the hardware to NASA for the upload. We perform several tests, including also radiation tests to different facilities. So according to the experiment, you can face a lot of different challenges. So in this case, for an experiment that is for exobiology, so they want to expose outside ISS biological sample to see the effect of the radiation on the DNA damage. So we had to perform also radiation tests on the electronics, in particular on some commercial off-the-shelf spectrometers, to figure out if they can withstand the environment. Because on Earth we know that everything works fine. The instrument is suitable for the purpose scientifically, but technically we need to qualify. And this is really a nice aspect, because according to the experiment, you can face a different test campaign. And this allows you to grow continuously and also to increase your field of application. And as I said, it's an international environment. So here there is the team that I work with that are from people from Italy, from UK, from Germany. So we work all together really like a small research group. So at the end, our group is not so big or not so structured in the company that you feel like a big industry. So at the end, we feel like a small entity in a big industry. You can experience a different type of technology. So for example, you have a review at European Space Agency. In this case, on the top on the right, you can see a workshop regarding 3D printing. So bio 3D printing and metallic and polymers 3D printing. You participate to conferences, you participate to events that require to present your industry and try to engage also future employee, people that are looking to a space pioneer career, and they are looking around to figure out which option can be provided by the different industry and which field they can start. And so you become also a sort of front person sometimes that represent the company itself in such a type of event. In particular, here I just collect some of the most recent experiment that we are working on. So we have a 3D printing, so additive manufacturing become a very cool trend also for space, because it's aimed to be a zero waste process. A lot of parts have been already printed on board on ISS using the fused filament fabrication method. We do experiment like spectroscopy for life science. So here we work with the university or with institute like DLR in Cologne, that they are they have a dedicated department on space medicine. Here we made an experiment for human physiology for Alexander Gerst that was intended to measure the stiffness of the muscle on board of ISS over long time, to figure out if the exercise are good enough to allow the muscle to be trained. So you prepare all your kit, you have to prepare procedure for the crew, you have to make in the way that the crew can operate in simple way. You are on call in case something is happening on board. So it's very busy professional life, let me say, because you don't have sometimes also time schedule, because you need to be available when the experiment is executed, and this can happen also over Christmas time, this can happen over the holiday, this should be Saturday, Sunday, so there is not really a fix deadline, but you know that this will be in that window when the experiment will be, and you feel like a last step of your development. So at the end, you feel so satisfied that everything later on will go smooth, and the data can be collected that give you a reward for all the effort put on it.
Sorry, Antonella, to interrupt you, just to warn you at the time.
Yeah. So this, I will go a little bit further on this. So this was what I said. You can work on now on this upcoming vision that is Moon and Mars discovery. This is something that in a lot of space industry up to now is always in their business application field. So if this is something of your interest and inspiring, this, you can find a lot of opportunity. And one of the other points that I would like to share is to join the Women in Aerospace. Women in Aerospace Europe at the end is a no-profit organization that allows you to create a networking with different professionals in the sector, provide the grant and training. If you need to participate to the conference, you can apply to get fully covered your travel, your participation, all born for by the need that the human presence, even in space, is not so high. So after Valentina Tereshova in '63, the first Russian women astronaut, we had to wait a long time that only 65 women flew on in space, and only most of them were American. Also with Americans was this anecdote for the spacesuit, the first women space EVA, so extravehicular activity outside ISS performed by 2 women was not possible because they had no 2 small size spacesuit, only one. All the other on board were for men. So the activity was postponed and cancelled. But now also ESA is going for a recruitment. So in case you have a wish to apply as a new astronaut, the call is open until the 18th of June. So there is a long process, but there are a strong push to have women on board for the future. And up to now, we have Samantha Cristoforetti as the first ISS commander that has been nominated for the station in 22. Here I placed the link for Women in Aerospace Europe. So there you can surf on the link. We are spread over Europe in several local groups. So according where you are located, you can join the community more close to you. And you can figure out all the advantage that you can have in promote, recognize, and visibility. And I would spend a few words on OHB. So OHB started like a family company, now is a big company in Bremen. OHB system is about 1,000 employees. We have a second site in Oberpfaffenhofen, close to Munich, in the south of Germany. And the main area of monitoring of application are scientific mission, telecommunication, Earth observation, environmental monitoring. And there is always the possibility to apply to HB as a career. So you can decide, you have to prepare a cover letter, a CV, and also give some reference. They are open also for students, for internship, optional internship, and thesis. We work also a lot with the Erasmus program. So if somebody is interested, also this can be performed at our place. There is in the slide a little bit how work the recruiting process. So you have an interview face-to-face, or in this case online. You will have a job offer, and after the work council will check the offer before the approval, and then you can have the contract start with us. So I hope I was fast enough to record.
Thank you.
I also add my mail in case of a further question.
Yes,
Thank
please, if you have questions, write to Antonella, because she has another meeting now, so she won't be able to attend our open discussion. Thank you very much, Antonella. That was very, very interesting. And yeah, I'll leave you to your other meeting. And
Thank you all. Have a nice event. Ciao.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Okay, now, yeah, we're running late again. I'm so sorry, Tamas. The next talk is by Tamas Parche. I hope I said that correctly. He will present his company, Admatis, the company he works for. And I won't steal additional time, so please feel free to share the screen.
Okay, so can you see?
Yes.
Yes, it's okay. Okay, so hello everybody. I try to speed up a little bit because I know well that the lunchtime is really important for all of us. I try to introduce not myself, as was happened before, but the company itself, because I'm pretty sure that you are not really aware about the Admatis company. And I would like to show you after the company introduction about something might be interesting data about the space market. I also would like to follow your logic and your discussion about the comparison of the science, the academic sector, and the industry, some words about the sustainability in the space industry. And if you have some time, I would like to show you some development project running at my company to show what is the difference between the research and the development, because we used to say that R&D together, these two letters, but the research and the development is totally different in our terminology. So generally speaking, the company itself was founded in 2000 by Hungarian private persons. The company itself is located in Hungary, so it's in eastern part of Europe. And what is really tricky in the company is that we are really focusing on the space industry. The foundation 20 years ago was because we have lots of opportunity to flow into the space sector. Somehow, most of the owners of the companies was professors of the local university, but nowadays 2/3 of the company belongs to my family, and I'm the general manager. I graduated as engineer, materials engineer, at University of Miskolc in Hungary. But nowadays, I'm most likely as a manager type of guy. We have about 25 employees, so it's a SME company, small size company. Most of our employees are engineers with several type of papers, graduates they have. They are young. The average year in the employees is about 30 years. The role of the company is a kind of subprime in Hungary. It means that we are able to be contracted by big companies and by the European Space Agency, and we are able to organize groups and teams and the supplier chain within Hungary or at the international level if the project requires. Of course, we have some certificates, but regarding our customers, we have lots of projects with the European Space Agency, who is organizing the space activities in Europe. And we have really good cooperation with Airbus and Thales Alenia Space and the University of Bern from Switzerland. And we have some other project with RUAG and with NASA. Regarding the competences, I can tell you that the company itself, it's an engineering company. That meaning that we are between the pure science, the pure academic sector, and the real industry. It means that we try to fulfill all of the requirements of the customers. It requires lots of development and a small amount of research, but by the end of the day, we need to put something on the table. It's a hardware, because we are familiar with the mechanical and the thermal engineering. And here you can see that, of course, we can provide lots of documentation that is required in this special industry. And most of our activities are supported by material science. We are working with special assembly structures, special thermoptical coatings to be applied on the radiators of the satellites, special conversion coating to be substituted to the elodine, to the hexavalent conversion coating. We have some activities with the multi-layer insulation developments, metal foams, and the aerogels. Within the space, we are really focusing on the satellite, so not the launcher, not the ground segment, but within the satellites, we can provide flight hardware from industrial line, and we can provide some ground support equipment. But in both domain, we're focusing on the thermal and the structural units, elements, and subsystem. What is really important that we have no intellectual property right constraints. It means that all of the technologies, all of the innovations, and all of the engineering solution that we can offer to the customer belongs to us, and we have any constraints to other big companies and patents. Here you can see a selection of our ongoing activities. On the left-hand side, you can see the flight programs, and on the right, on the development programs. We have contributions to a set of European Space Agency satellite programs. The first one is the Ariel program, is a medium-sized mission. The the satellite itself will be launched to the Lagrange 2 points in 2027 around, or 1 year later. We will see, of course, because most of the projects are significant delay in the space sector, and we will be responsible for the radiators that should be operated at minus 210 degrees Celsius Kelvin. So it's really, really challenging. How can we design, for example, the top coat of the radiator, and we will provide quite a large set of mechanical ground support equipment, transport containers, and handling, lifting, hoisting, other devices. The next project is the Comet Interceptor. It is also a NASA project. The two satellites, the Ariel and the Comet Interceptor, will be launched on the same rocket. And the aim of this project is to study a kind of meteorite that will be identified after a couple of years of the launch. And we are responsible for the full thermal control system of the Comet camera. It's a special instrument, and we are responsible for the active and passive thermal control of this instrument. The third flight programs is part of the Copernicus program. The HPCM, the high priority candidate missions. We are part of the industrial team of the C2M satellites. It's a twin satellite, will be launched in the middle of this decade. The prime contractor is the OHB, but the Thales Alenia Space is responsible for the payload itself, and we are responsible for a quite large set of thermal subsystem with the structure and active and passive thermal control as well. It's really, really challenging. But because, as was mentioned by previous presenter, the space industry is not a real industry. It requires lots of developments to be able to fulfill the requirements of the customer. We need to sum lots of technology developments, and here you can see that quite large set of projects are focusing on the MLI development, special project for the attachment, the spacer materials for the special qualification program, and high temperature MLIs. Regarding the MBA project, I will have some separate slides for that, so I do not want to go into the details. But for example, the MSN, the Marker Supporting Navigation Project, it's an interesting one because in the framework of the Clean Space program, ESA tends to provide a special mechanical interface of the satellites to be launched in the future that can be used for mechanical docking of another satellite. So it means that all of the Copernicus satellites will be launched in the next 10 or 12 years, has to be equipped with a mechanical docking system and a special marker. And this marker will be used to identify the satellite itself after its operational, after its lifetime. So the aging prospect of this marker is the top importance issue in this area. It means that we need to develop special markers that have the same thermal optical properties after 20 years in orbit operation as was at the beginning of life. And because Europe tends to develop a special new navigation system using infrared cameras that is not exist at this time, we can join to this team in the early stage, and in low TRL we have some experiments together with ESA. We have some edge technologies, meaning that is really competitive in Europe and in the world. We are working with the metal foam to be applied in the board of the satellite as a multifunctional element, because it can be used as a structural element, it can be used as a thermal element, and it can be used as a kind of shielding of the satellites against the space debris. We work with the aerogel. because it's a quite new material, but that has been never used in any kind of space application. So it has no space heritage. And together with the Thales Space and the European Space Agency, we try to develop a new special solution for thermal insulation. According to the past, we have significant contribution to the Sentinel-2 satellites. 4 satellites have been built. The first 2 are on orbit and works properly in the framework of the Copernicus program. 3,000 hardwares have been designed, manufactured, and delivered directly to Airbus per satellites. It was a big challenge of the company. In the CHEOPS program, it was also an ESA mission. We were responsible for the focal plane array and the front-end electronics radiator panels. They are sitting at the top of the satellites. And because of the really tricky requirement, it was really challenging. A lot of technology had to develop. The satellites have been launched in 2019 and works perfectly. The JUICE, we have delivered flight hardware for the JUICE mission. It will travel to the Jupiter, measuring lots of science. And the FOCUS, it was an experiment that has been carried out on the board of the International Space Station on the Columbus module. The scientific background was provided by also my company. It was a foaming experiment. The real question was, how can we generate foam in microgravity condition? And what is the foam stability? What is the difference between the foam structure and the foam stability in microgravity and in 1G conditions? And with the help of this result, we patented a special foaming technology, metal foaming on the Earth. And now we have some discussion with other project, with the SHIME. It's also one of the mission of the Copernicus program. We will start in the coming months the Mars Sample Returns Earth Return Orbiter program. A dedicated hardware will be developed by Hungary, and the Admatis has significant role in this project. And we tend to apply another Hungarian astronaut in 2024. It means that it will be launched by an American company to the International Space Station, and all the scientific program will be handled by help of Admatis, and we will be responsible for 2 or 4 scientific experiments to be done by the Hungarian astronaut on the International Space Station. Some words about the global space market from businessman point of view. In 2019, the global space economy size was more than $300 billion. And there are lots of segments to be identified here, but I think it's quite interesting when I'm talking about the upstream sector, the engineering sector. It means the design and building, the launch services, and the satellite manufacturing. Here you can see that it's about 5% above the total global space economy, and all of the other sectors are mostly linked to the ground segment and the services. So it's really interesting. But if we would like to identify how much is the science sector, it's not so easy. But here you can see that there is $6.9 billion in the NASA budget. But of course, there's a dedicated European budget for that. But most of the budget goes to the industry and not the science. This is a forecast, what will happen in the next decade. And of course, nobody knows what will happen, but the people said that by the end of 2040, this market will be significantly increased up to $1,000 billion US. Here is the driving forces of the development. Of course, on the right-hand side, you can see that there's a customer somehow, the end users. To be able to give you competitive solution, we have to work a lot with the satellite manufacturing, with the launchers and the satellite services, and the huge area is the ground segment. If I would like to say something about why this significant increasing of the market could happen, I think this is the best diagram for that, because if we go back to the 60s, we can identify that the cost of the launch of 1 kilogram anything payload was about some $10,000. And thanks to the SpaceX and the new engineering solution, nowadays it's about $1,000, $2,000 per kilograms if we would like to launch anything to the space. And within 10 years, the forecast says that it will be reduced down to some $100 per kilogram. So it means that the space is much more achievable for all of us. Here's the space market forecast. On the orange ones, you can see that lots of satellites will be launched. Maybe it's not the best idea, because it means that lots of small satellites, CubeSats and other satellites are about to launch, and because of the sustainability and the environmental protection is not the best idea. But this is the industrial trend, to replace the big and satellites by much more but smaller and faster satellites. If I would like to identify the characteristic, the properties of the space industry, I can say that it's a really close community, really difficult to enter into it, because if we think about that, a satellite development takes more than 5 years or 10 years or something like that, and it requires the contribution of lots of companies, lots of engineers, lots of scientists. The reliability is the most important thing. And if you don't have a reference or heritage, if you are not able to show the customer that you are able to provide the hardware that is requested by him, it's really different to get contracted. It's really high added values. It has a really strategic importance, and there are mandatory options to be fulfilled. It's tricky, but the space industry, at least the upstream part of it, it's innovative and conservative at one time. It is innovative because the scientist and the customer requires better performances from the satellites and the solutions, but it's really conservative because if you want to introduce a new material, a new technology into the space industry, it requires lots of money, lots of time, lots of effort, and the risk will be higher than if we use an already proved solution. So it's a balance between the innovation and the conservatives if we are a system engineer. The comparison of the science and the industry, of the academic sector of the industry, we have heard a lot of things about that, but I think that if we are talking about the science, the aim of the science is to increase the knowledge base of the humans. It is driven by the curiosity, and it is something answering some questions that concern the humanity. If we are talking about the industry, it is about industry development, construction, technologies, software development, utilization of information, and there, of course, there are some similarities between the academic sector and the industry, because both of them are part of the high-tech sector, have really significant national interest in all of the countries and all of the communities. It has strategic importance in the nations. and it is a high prestige. But if we would like to identify some differences, here you can see some examples. It says that if we're talking about the academic sector, it's costly, but the industry can generate some income, and it is able to pay some taxes to the government. The academic sector is public, so all of the scientists are eager to publish as many articles as they can. But the industry is confidential. So if you can achieve something, if you have some really good results, you are not able to publish it because it's confidential, and you would like to change, to modify your knowledge to money. In the science, there's no expected results. There are aims, there are objectives, but if we are talking about the industry, there are requirements by the customer that has to be fulfilled. You has to be compliant with that. The tempo is different in the two sectors. In the science, there is much more research, and in the industry, there is much more development. In the academic sector, I think it's much more for fun. It is initiated by the personal interest. And in the industry, if you are working in a company, you are responsible and liable for lots of things, and it can be really stressed. Sustainability in space, I skip it, okay, because of this time. And I would like to highlight some projects, some development project, that what is the meaning of the qualification compared to the characterization. If you are a scientist, you have a new development. By the end of the project, you need to show some characteristics of your results to be able to describe your achievements to the community. But if you are on the industrial part, and if you have some requirements, in this case, you are talking about qualification, it means that there are hundreds of requirements belongs to one small unit, and you need to give evidence that all of the requirements are fulfilled by you. This project, the ECD, was and is for the substituting of the hexavalent chromium conversion coating applied on several types of aluminum alloys. On the left-hand side, you see the samples that is not treated. On the right-hand side, that is treated. And both of them were put in the neutral salt spray chamber for 24 hours. And here you can see the differences. And because of the REACH regulations, the European space community was forced to try to replace the iodine by a more environment-friendly solution. And we worked with an already existing chemical family. Here you can see just an example, what type of requirements we have to fulfill. This is just a summary of the requirements because there were some hundreds of requirements to be fulfilled. Here you can see the materials. They are commercially available. The chemicals itself and the aluminum alloys to be treated, they are all also commercially available. And what is the question in this case? We had to develop a special technology, how we can apply these chemicals on the aluminum surface to be able to fulfill the requirements initiated by the customers. Here you can see some steps of the process, and this is the verification plan just to show that what kind of test should be done. Neutral salt spray test, the bake out, it's a vacuum test in elevated temperature for long term, the contact electrical resistivity test, the humidity test, thermal vacuum cycling, thermal cycling. So lots of tests has to be done to be able to show the customer that, okay, guys, this solution can be used by you with low risk. Lots of processes has to be developed. And here you can see some photos because we developed immersion technology and brush technology as well. And it can be applied on quite large equipments as well. The MBA project, it's another development because we wanted to introduce the aerogel as a thermal insulation core material in MLI technologies, in the thermal insulation of satellites. It's a really, really new solution. The main question is, what is the thermal performance of this new MLI? What is the cleanliness issue of this new engineering solution? And we thought that we will be able to offer a self-standing three-dimensional shaped thermal protection to satellites instead of the conventional MLI that requires secondary structure for mounting. Here you can see some example, and this is just only a snapshot to you to show that how complicated is the verification plan, how many measurements, how many tests should be done to achieve the TRL level of 4 or 5. So it doesn't mean that it's a flight proven one. It means that it is proven at breadboard level. We have very good results, so we have opportunity to continue this activity, but lots of effort should be done in the future if we want to introduce this new thermal protection solution for the real customers as a flight grade solution. The MSN is a marker support navigation. I have mentioned before a few words about that. We had to figure out new materials and new technologies to be applied on a small sample, which aging resistant. It means that after 20 years in low Earth orbit space condition, the thermal optical properties and the differences of the thermal optical properties, so the intensity of the markers are quite the same as was the beginning of life. And it's really, really tricky because nobody measured it before. And we have selected some black and white paints for that. Special phosphorescent paints were procured from the United States, and we have some internal developments, and some thin films from the MLI technology were introduced. Lots of tests in a quite complicated sequences have been introduced in this project. And now we are in the second phase of the project. We achieved the TRL 5. And hopefully by the end of the next year, we will be able to provide a fully qualified marker as engineering solution to the customer to be placed all of the Copernicus satellites to be launched in the next decades by the European Space Agency. So the summary, I try to highlight that being an employee of a small company like Admatish might lead to faster career, because if you go to work on a giant university or company, you will be a small part of a big structure as a person. But if you go to a small company, in a very short time, you could have high responsibility. You could be a project manager if you can offer something vulnerable for the company. And it's really, really difficult to work in a giant company and an academic sector and a small company. For example, if you work at an SME, it requires a wider competency, because you need to follow not only just one step in the full development phase, but you need to have a quite wide overview about the total project, from the design activity to the manufacturing to the test, because the organization is much smaller and there are some people that can be some advantages from that. And we believe that the performance of the space instruments and equipment are highly depends on the materials and the technologies. If we are talking about the upstream domain of the space industry, of course, if we would like to change to the downstream domain, the software and the computational skills are really highlighted. And the last thing, that if we would like to substituting an already existing well-known reliable materials, is always a risk, because the new solution has never been tested so widely than it was before in the well-known application. So we have to be careful if we want to modify anything. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the overview of the company. I think there will be questions. While the participants are writing or thinking about their questions, I have a couple of questions. The first is for Simone.
I'm here.
Yeah. Are you hiring?
Yes, continuously. This is the short answer.
Okay.
Maybe what I didn't said during my presentation, because I was focused on the trip of Adam and presenting what Adam does, is that at the end, in the last slide, you saw that there is a team behind a product and behind a service. And what is important is to onboard people, because services and products do not exist without people. And I think this is also shared by others. Up to date, we are hiring people to be as much tangible as I can. We have one full-time position open for a front-end developer, and we have another two limited time. Let's say limited means with project life cycle duration position for a full stack developer. So a good people with a good attitude, both in the front end and in back end side implementation.
Okay. And the second one is for Tamas. What I wanted to ask is, does someone with a purely scientific background have a chance to be part of your company?
I think
not an engineer.
Yes, definitively yes. Because I think all of us started at a kind of university as a student. And as far as I know, the universities, all of the worlds concentrating on the science and not really the engineering, independently what the name of the university is. And if somebody has an ambition, I think everything can be studied. So all of the skills that is required by the industry, even a giant company or a small company, can be studied somehow. So I think the science as a background is one of the best baseline for starting any kind of engineering job, I believe.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. We have a question from Fernando.
I have a question for those which have been moving from academic to an industry place. It's just, I have a friend that goes to industry just after his master course, and now he's thinking about doing a PhD. So my question is, the right moment to move between industry and academic is after the PhD. Before the PhD is right, the PhD is giving to you something else in the industry.
Fernando. In some case, the right time is yesterday. In others, is tomorrow. I think at least Ramiro said that is temporarily suspended his PhD thesis. No, Carlos is in the other side, so working to finalize. Eric as well. The good message I think is out from Ramiro, but also from others indirectly, is that you have to decide. No, you have to decide what makes your daily job funny. I use this term, is to find the proper place, the proper team, and the proper, let's say, objective and scope to work on. What it seems to me from today is that we are putting in one side, not sure if it is the bright or the dark side, academic, and in the other industry, no? And we are generalizing the point. And if people move from academic to industry, is because maybe they change ideas, or they are looking for new stimulus or new, I don't know, challenges, but it is up to the people. Why Ramiro is working with us? Because of the beer at the airport, trying to convince him of working together, because of we enjoyed working together in an European project, the both of them, I would say. There was a feeling, there is still a feeling, there is a need of working, and I think, to be enough honest, we are partially enjoying, no, in some of the day, and a bit less in others, but we enjoy what we do. The day I will not enjoy in doing my job, I look for a new opportunity. I move to academic. I don't know. I'll become a farmer, probably. No, but I think as technologies and products evolves, also people are evolving and move. And you know, if we are under pressure of hiring people, no, we will hire all the people that we came across, no? And if you are in pressure, under pressure to find a new position, you will be probably move from academic to the wrong industry, no? Because, but this is up to find your way. So this is out from Ramiro, and let's say I support that that sentence.
So adding on what Simone said and answering what Fernando was asking, it's never the right moment, and it's never the wrong moment. It's like having a kid, you know. I mean, there's never the right moment and never the wrong moment. So it just happens, and so you need to go with the flow. Is it the right moment to in between masters and PhD? Go back to industry or not? Carlos showed that he was flirting with industry, right? I mean, from bachelor's to industry, then back to academia, then back to industry. I did more or less the same. So in between masters, industry in a pub in Manchester, but at the end, you know, I mean, it was something completely different, right? You need to adapt, and I think adaptation and being able to adapt to what the moment is offering to you, this is one of the best skills and the most valuable skills when you try to transition from academy to industry, right? I mean, it will never be the right moment. There will be always like, maybe if I wait for a new project that will come, right? Or maybe I can publish this thing, or maybe this other company that maybe I'm a bit more interested in, they open, you know, the specific position for my profile, blah blah blah, right? I'm sorry that the answer it's vague in terms of like there's not a proper answer, but I'm as I said during my presentation, I have no filter and I'm very honest and I'm super direct. You need to just adapt to the moment. So Of course, doing your PhD, during my PhD, I learned a lot of skills that I know that if I didn't do my PhD, although I didn't finish it, at this moment in time, I would be struggling a lot working in academia, in industry, sorry. I mean, PhD has taught me the way of facing problems. And sometimes when you're doing software development or when you're working in industry, whereas it's software development or not, you need those skills that you go during your PhD, masters, whatever. So during academia, right? So you can use your skills in academia, from academia, sorry, into industry. It doesn't really matter what if it's a PhD, masters, or whatever. If you want to do the PhD, just go for the PhD. I'm no one to tell you don't go for the PhD. I actually encourage you to go for a PhD. Also, just keep in mind that it's not the only path.
Yeah,
I think
that's
my main.
What is also worth mentioning from my side, because of experience, but it's more an individual feeling and experience. I think that an unshared planned change is not well received in most of the cases, because there is an impact. No, let's imagine you are in academic and you are moving without sharing with your supervisor to the industry. How your supervisor will react, I think, as a person, there will be an impact, no, positive or negative. I would say it will be always negative, no, because you are working on tasks and activities, and someone else has to take over. The same on the other way, no. If you are in an industry and you are moving to the academic, there will be an impact. To mitigate the impact is part of the sharing of your planning, no? So this is the only recommendation that I can share, because if you are in trouble, shall I finish or not my current position, is better to share with your supervisor.
Ramiro, quick question, and then we move to Zach's question because he raised his hand a long time ago. How did Angelo react to your decision, to your choice?
Actually,
he is our supervisor. I mean, my supervisor, and he's like.
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. I was super afraid of telling Angelo that I wanted to go back to Barcelona, and I wanted to let's say not put on hold, but yeah, let's call it like that, put on hold my PhD, right? And that I was not sure if I wanted to follow it, and basically that I needed some time off from academia. I was straight. I told him, like, look, this is the situation. My PhD contract is finishing in 3 months. Unfortunately, you cannot really provide me with more funding or enough time of funding. So it's at this time, let's say, enough for me to stay in academia. I need to move. I need to move. I need to adapt. And he was the sentence that he told me, and that was really, this is something that you really expect from your supervisors. Like, I cannot tell you not to take one job offer. In that time, the job offer that I took was a 5-year contract that I didn't finish. But anyway, so it was a 5-year contract. It's like, I cannot really tell you not to take this. It's your life. I mean, I can offer you only 3 more months of funding versus 5 years of stability. And that's why stability is one of the words that I was highlighting during my presentation, because this is what I was looking for, right? I wanted to know what I'm going to do in the next year, at least, or more or less, right? I mean, you never know what is going to happen next month. But anyway, so yeah, Angelo was super kind, and I was really surprised. And
He always is.
Yeah, he's a really, really good supervisor and human being, actually. But you know, like, yeah, and this is one of the struggles, right? When you communicate, even when you are working in industry, and you have to tell, look, I got a job offer from another company. I'm considering blah 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 blah. This is never a happy moment, right? And it's not easy. But
indeed. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, Zach, go on.
Hi, thanks for all those talks. It's great to see this perspective. I think it doesn't get industry doesn't get talked about enough for us early career people. I did it's kind of a general question for any of you, really. Basically, we know that I think especially in the space industry, there's a lot of problematic industries or problematic links. So whether that's a lot of people end up finding jobs in weapons industry, or it could be something more minor like Earth observation data being used for destructive industries like mining and logging, or something simpler like the proliferation of small sats, like CubeSats, like the Starlink, that has a lot of problems within astronomy potentially. So I was just wondering, I mean, I know everyone draws their own lines and has their own opinions on these things, but did any of you working in industry kind of come up against a hard wall that you said, no, I won't get involved in this company for a particular reason? I'd be really interested what you've experienced.
If I can just jump in, yeah, it's what you said. I mean, you draw the line. I draw my lines, and I have some companies that I'm going to say at this precise moment, they are on my blacklist of being working with them for whatever reasons, right? As you said, like mining or using your expertise or your intelligence to work on geoint in military industry and stuff like that. It's your choice. It's your choice. But for sure, if you go to industry, you need, especially in Earth observation, you need to be aware that this will happen, and you need to make a choice.
I think it's cross-domain. No, it's not only Earth observation. We are sharing what is happening in Earth observation. No, and you know, I'm sure, no, because we let's say we work together. But there is a company with different departments, no? And one of these departments is a friendly department. The other department, you know, is an enemy because of the sharing from Ramiro. No? They use your intelligence. They sell your intelligence as their own intelligence, and this is, you are upset, no, when this with this, but this is not the case only for Earth observation. It happens with consultants, accountants. It is always like that. You have to pay taxes. If your accountant does an error, you have to pay, no? And this is really weird. Let's say weird. The same happens to your core business, no? But to get to your point, I don't know. Again, it's a matter of personal experience. No, I'm used to say before starting, we were talking about how fun it is if someone makes me angry. No, because of I'm used when I talk about work to be very aggressive. No, but this is my character, and also this part, I don't know, do we need to be in our comfort zone to discuss smoothly about everything and to be relaxed? I don't know, it's part of your story. No? If you are looking for that kind of work and you are working in a different condition, you have to change. No, because you don't have fun at working time. And in my case, I need to have fun. The day I will not have fun anymore, I will not change immediately, no, because of the background and all the conditions around family and blah, blah, blah. But if you don't feel comfortable, it's time to start evaluating and planning a change. No?
Thank you. Does someone want to add something to this discussion? Other questions?
No, I think it will be good to have a sort of questionnaire. How many of you are feeling comfortable in your current position, and how many of you are not? No, because I guess because I'm a magician that 50% feel comfortable and the other 50% don't.
In fact, I'm leaving research in a few months, so I'm in between, but not to go in industry. So I would add also that there is no just research or industry. We are talking about academia and research, but you can do whatever you want, in fact. So
yeah, I want a restaurant as a plan B. Yes. The industry won't really be my plan B. We have a question from Jules, which actually a little bit, I mean, it's similar to what I asked to Tamas before. Question is, one thing I can't figure out is for most position, it seems that engineer skills are required, especially for the last presentation. Personally, I don't have such skills. Also, I think it required also some specific computer skills that I'm not sure to have also. So in my point of view, it's difficult to imagine myself in such things.
And the question is for Tamas?
Yeah, mostly for him. I mean, I shared these because me too, I can't program. I tried to with Carlos. He was very keen to try and teach me, but I failed badly. It's really not my thing. And I also don't have engineer skills. So yeah, I can't see these as a future possibility for me. I'm sure that
actually Erica was a proof that I really like it to teach.
But, again, if there is a position with, let's say, mandatory, recommended, or soft skill specified, I know, you read the application and do I fit or do I don't, and you decide to apply for that application.
Yeah, probably should. I won't be a good candidate for.
That's one point I shared before in the chat. The open position at Mio, no, and also in this at this moment, what we are looking for are IT guys, no. But do we do only IT stuff? No, because there are a lot in that roadmap that I presented. We managed to spend, I would say, 50% of the effort in blah, 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 blah stuff. Okay, what am I referring to? Iterating with the customers to understand what they have in mind, to understand what they want to improve accessibility to the data, to their data. No, this is just one point. So 50% of the work in our specific case is try to understand what are the hidden requirements from a user to be tangible. One example was, oh, Australians are leading, are shaping data cubes stuff. No, they are doing a great job on promoting a concept, but they are not leading the technical implementation. But we need both. The requirement from ESA was a very high generic level requirement. We want to do it better. Promotion, you are talking with an IT company. So it's a wrong company for doing that. You need an IT company and a promotion company. No? And this is the point. Looking at open position, you see what is published on a website as a current open position. What a company is doing, what an academic entity is doing, you discover when you are there. What are you doing at Jacobs in this moment? I don't know, and I wanna know what you are doing. I know in my story on the academy, we were a group of 20 people, okay, with 20 topics, hot topics. And to me, it was not the way of working, because the one-man show, to me, do not exist. No? To provide a service, a product, or a solution, the team working is helpful. Okay, the single man working, you can do great stuff with your own view, but if your own view is not what an SME or an industry or an academy has to provide to the user. Can we do what Adam is doing today with a single person? Sure. We need to live 1,000 years, no? Because there is an effort equivalent to, let's say, 8 years duration, and how many people involved? 5 to 6 people in average per year. No? So this is the point.
Tamad, do you want to add something?
Yes, I think that if so we are all different, and if somebody feels that one of his or her skill are not enough good or poor, it might not a problem at a company level, because all of us works in a team. So if you are a good professional in any kind of activity, and if you do not want to present yourself, if you are not able to present your results in a face-to-face meeting with a customer, for example, it's not a real program. Because, for example, in my company, the structure of the company belongs to projects. So we have project, and in all the time, the presenter of the results with the customer is the project manager. So he's the leader of the team. He is responsible for all of the activities within the project. And if somebody belongs to the team, he's contributing to the results, of course. The project manager is also responsible for your work, but he's the presenter. He's the guy who presenting all of the things, and he is the most experienced guy who is able to contracting, who is able to discussing with the customer, because in some cases it's not an easy way. It's not just a presentation that, okay guys, I have some results, this and this and this, because the customer always have some problems, always have some questions. They would like to modify the things, and it requires more budget, more time, and so on and so on. And you have to be careful during this discussion. What is your offer? What you accept from the customer? So it's not about just the technical discussion, but sometimes it has business issues, business side as well. And my other additions for the previous discussions, that, for example, in the small SMEs, the small companies, has no definite positions. So, for example, my company is looking for good people, good team members. And if you have good skills in such areas, I'm pretty sure that we are able to find your place within the team. So it's really hard from our side to define a dedicated position. Okay, it's hard to say that we are looking for an employee with this and this and this and this and these skills, and if something missing, you couldn't fit with our expectation. This is not the case. If you are a good guy, if you can contribute significantly to the success of the company, you are welcome. And your skills do not depend on the papers, how many papers you have. The papers, in my terminology, the paper means that what kind of master degrees you have, what kind of PhD degrees you have, because in most of the cases when you onboarding on a company, you will be educated somehow, because what you have learned before cannot be adapted one-to-one to the company needs. So you need to learn for your work life, of course. But if you are entering in a new team, in a new company team, it's a kind of investment from the company investing into you to educate you to be able to contribute successfully to the project. So I think please do not care about what kind of papers you have. It's not really important, I think, from industry.
Thank you very much. That's a bit of a relief. I think that's not necessarily useless.
Can I add here something?
Yeah, sure, please.
Learn regarding specifically coding skills. I agree to the fact that it is not as important as it is advertised out there by the industry or job offers and by this board here. This is a very biased, I have to say, regarding that team of speakers. Most of us here are directly connected to coding, computing somehow. So this is biased. Now, I don't want also to say that, no, it's fine not to know how to code. It's pretty much like know how to speak English, right? You don't have to be fluent or be Shakespearean, but it adds a lot if you know, if you can understand and communicate with somebody else. So my point of view here is that no, you don't have to know how to code, and you actually don't want to know how to code. I told that to Erica back in the days. If it's not your thing, don't do that. It's painful. It's painful to code, like to get into debug and write that stuff. No, but it adds a lot if you know what's being talked about, if you can communicate, and actually very valuable, I have to say, if you can translate the information in between the layers in your company or in your team, from the computer, from the software engineer that is down there in the darkness of code to the scientists, for instance. So if you can fill that gap, that is actually very, very, very valuable, especially in these days of data science, data industry everywhere. So actually, I would say that you have a lot of coders out there. Don't be, if not your thing, don't bother to be one of those or one of us. Fill the gap. Understand what, like, work out your soft skills to help people communicate in between the layers, the technical layer and the outreach or the product layer or management layer and stuff like that. That is very valuable. So it adds a lot, but you don't have to become a part of the dark force of coders to, no. It definitely not. But keep in mind that will add a lot to your career.
Yeah, that's true. That's why I tried and then failed. But yeah, it's for sure it's an additional value that you bring into the company or team.
It's another language. It's another language.
Yeah.
Failing is essential. I don't know people that didn't fail in their life, because failing is part of the process of finding your way. When we started the company in 2004, I'm not a coder, but I have a degree on atmospheric physics. And to do my poor scientific job, it was a matter of learning IDL, MATLAB, see, how many languages, but my brain doesn't work as a coder brain, no? So, and what I can share is when we opened the company with the poor programming quality, okay, it took 1 year to get funded by ISA with the first project. And it was the occasion to say, we were 3 of us, no, to open the company with the different low quality skills in programming, no? But then we hired the first coder guy. And it happened that what you fast prototyping, and it takes a couple of hours to process an image, and you exactly know that you have to do A plus B, no? But you are implementing in the wrong way, taking 2 hours. In the hands of a coder, with the brain of a coder, it takes 10 seconds. Is it frustrating for you? No, because, oh, I did shit in my life of coder, no? But you realize that you cannot know everything. You cannot have high skills in all the topics, no? But is my experience, huh? I'm not saying it's the experience of the all of us, no? And it's part of the process of finding your way. In our case, 50% of the team is, IT skilled. 50% is blah blah blah. No, I'm not professional on this, no, because the value in understanding requirements from the users and asking an IT guy, we need a button, and with a single click, that button will do a lot of process, no? Understanding that part, it's a job. Talent scouting is a job. Drinking beer in an airport or during a project meeting is a job, no? To find the feeling. Ramiro, are you comfortable with all the programming languages that are addressed at Mio and Sistema? No, no, it's not possible. If there is a need to boost a single step in a processing chain, and this step is Bash addicted, we need a people that knows Bash better than Ramiro does. And if we need Python, okay, you are the perfect guy. No, and if we ask a Bash guy to implement Python stuff, or just to joke about this, if you ask each of the people at Mio about Java, they will start complaining a lot, no, or saying a lot of dirty words because they don't like Java. But we have projects where there are third-party components to be used because it is a must to reuse this software that are Java-based. And is that a funny time? No, it's more funny during the coffee break to complain about Java. No, but it's part of the job. As in academic, at some time, is part of the job writing a paper. That in my case, what was the dark side. I don't enjoy in writing scientific paper. I enjoy a lot on thinking about experiment and ask another IT guy, please run these 100 experiments and don't do the other 1,000, because my feeling is that is losing time in that direction, and we focus on this. And
we have a question from Shriru.
Good morning, everyone. I have been listening to this discussion, and one of the main points that Simone right now raised, the difference between a coder's thinking mentality and a person who has done coding but does not have that mentality. And I can totally agree with that, and I understand that feeling, because prior to doing my PhD, I had faced that experience. One of the things that I would like to suggest over here, which I have not come across in any job profile, apart from when I read something from either a specific coding company like Google or Amazon, it's just an example I'm saying, is that any company that needs coders and those people who just know the language, if they can write it in their job specification, like not directly, if not directly, but at least indirectly, it would help engineers like us or pure scientists, people like Erica, who have just done coding but don't have that coder's bend of mind, so that we can know, yeah, okay, this is what is exactly required. That would help us in determining um, how much percentage of success we have to at least get a call for the interview, apart from developing soft skills and hard skills. That's an observation on my end, and because we have company heads over here, I would like to hear what is your opinion. Is it feasible to give an indirect message to the applicant that, look, we need this kind of expertise with this bend of mind?
If I may answer that from a not long time ago applicant point of view, and I think this is highly linked with what Carlos said. Probably if you don't have this, let's say, coding mentality, and that's because probably you don't fit in that profile. But you don't need to fit in that profile specifically. There are a lot of different profiles, right? I think that it's good to know programming, even if you work on a management from management profile, because you then understand the two endpoints of the conversation, right? The what the client wants and how to do it. But doing so creating a job offer, this is what you're asking, right? Like if the company can just like create one job offer or specify in the job offer the, let's say, amount of from what I came across and from my experience, if you are going to the project management part, you need some skills on project management. If you work on coding, you need skills in coding. There's no, unfortunately, I think there is no black and white. Of course, there may be some gray area where you have mixed of coding skills and project management skills and so on, right? But I think it's very hard for a company to say like, I need I don't know, like a 30%. I don't know if you agree with me, Tamas and Simone.
Mm-hmm. And let's say in big companies and structured companies, I think is easier to define profiles with the specific skills and requirements. No, while and I never been in a big company. No, even if I'm a bit curious to be there and have my menu of the day that is the menu of all the days, because I have to work on this activity and my task is only about to collect inputs and do data entry. No, I'm oversimplifying the point. This is just to mention that in big companies, I think there are profiles with limited tasks and specific skills required. In small companies, it's more the opposite. Thomas said, we need good people. What is the menu for good people? And we don't have a menu. No, to me is the feeling. My secret recipe is, if there is a feeling, the first second we came across, okay, if we have feeling, it's a good opportunity to understand each other and to find your place. No, but the first second we came across is because we are already working in a project or in an initiative that is a joint initiative. So we are in the same domain. If you will be an IT guy or a project management guy, who knows? The feeling is good, and for sure we will have fun when working together. But it's really hard in an SME providing a profile, asking for a good people. No, there is no. It's easy to say I need a front-end developer that knows this language, this framework, and this technology. To specify these 3 bullets for a good people, what you put there? I try to do this on the fly menu. No, long hairs. That is not the case for me. Blue eyes. That is not the case for me. And a good ping pong player. That is the case for me. No, and is this the list of skills for the good people? No. So there is no recipe for that, at least in my experience yet.
Someone want to add something? I think we're good. We had a very fruitful discussion. I'm very happy about this session. Yeah, we were supposed to go for lunch 40 minutes ago, so I'm sorry I stole your precious lunch time. I'm sure you're hungry. So I would like to deeply thank all the speakers and participants for this proactive discussion. And yeah, I wish you a nice lunch. And if you have further questions or if you want feedback, feel free to contact the speakers because they're very kind people and I'm sure that they will answer to you. For the participants, yeah, we will meet again at 6
past half, no? Or 6?
6:30, sorry, for the social event. And yeah, thank you very much again. And goodbye.
Thank you.
Goodbye, good
Thank you,
lunch.
goodbye.
Thank you again, Ramiro, Simonette, Thomas.
Bye-bye.
Carlos, bye-bye.
Ciao.
Ciao, bro.